So we are going to start our little tour in Torino from the remains of the Roman theatre. Here we are in the middle of it. It was built from the year 20 BC and then enlarged much later in the year 80 AD. Okay, it's pretty wide as area, and later on some of the stones were used to build this church here, which is the today's cathedral, Cattedrale di San Giovanni Battista. This one here, it is the main church of Torino. On this precise area there were pre-Roman houses and then 3 Paleo-Christian churches. Nowadays there is this church which has been built in the 15th century, but as far as the bell tower is concerned, this lower part here, made of bricks, has been built in the 15th century, whereas this part here on the top has been built in the 18th century. Now I'm going to show you something very nice, which, well, now you will really feel as you were walking inside the church. Okay, from here you see there is a whole tour inside the church, which is amazing. Honestly, you can just enter the church. This is great, really. You don't see this thing on Google Maps many times, so this is really great. And yeah, so here we are inside the church. It's pretty big. It is divided into 3 naves. There are, as you can see a little bit here, different chapels, different side chapels, many paintings, sculptures as well. And yes, of different periods in different styles, of course. And then if you reach the apsis of the church, we see something very particular as well. This thing here is actually a painting. It's the so-called technique of trompe d'oeil. So this really seems like a real chapel from here, but in fact this is just painted. So here we are basically behind the apsis. This is the so-called chapel of the sacred shroud, the Shroud of Turin, Sacra Sindone in Italian. The Holy Shroud is this one. Unfortunately, it is only shown during some particular celebrations and very, very rarely. It is said that this was the linen which surrounded the body of Christ in its tomb. So here you can pretty clearly see that this was the front side, okay, whereas this one was the back side. And then this one is a picture, a negative photo basically, of the Holy Shroud, and you can really clearly see the figure. So this one is the Porta Palatina. It is a Roman city gate. It's amazing, really. It has been built in the 1st century BC. It is really one of the best preserved Roman city gates of that period in the whole world. I've seen quite a few Roman city gates. I've never seen a city gate like this. It is really peculiar, also the form, I would say. This city gate was the north entrance for Augusta Taurinorum. The name Palatina is actually not from the Roman time, but from the Middle Ages. Maybe because it was situated not too far from the Lombard Palatium, the main building for the Lombards when they were ruling the town. City gate at one point was also called Doranea because it is not too far from the river Doria Riparia. If we go a little bit on this side, we can see actually a part of the walls which still remain here. It's just amazing, really. And this most likely is at least a little part of a Roman road, because of course it was located at the entrance of the city, but also on one of the main Roman roads of the town. So here we are in Piazza Castello, Castle Square, the main square of Turin. There was actually a square already in the Roman times in the 1st century BC. It's a pretty big square, as you can see. Very nice. Maybe this square was in the Roman times the entrance for the castrum of the Roman times. So this very nice building here is the Palazzo Madama, Casa Forte di Acaia. It has been built in a point where there was in the Roman times a city gate, which became then a fortress. Why? Because this area here is located not too far from the river Po, hence it was very important, very strategical, an area that needed to be protected. That's why a fortress has been built. Then in the Middle Ages the building has been transformed pretty much. This is a wider view of the building where you really understand how different it looks like from the facade. Okay, so you have clearly two different styles here. This part here is clearly older, with the 4 towers made in brick mainly. This part has been built mainly in the 13th century, and it became property of the family Acaia, Savoy Acaia. So Acaia was still part of the Savoyan family, Savoia dynasty basically. And then later on in the 17th century it has been decided to create also this very nice facade, completely different style, neoclassical I would say, with all these very nice statues. This part was planned by one of the most important architects in Italy at that time, Filippo Juvara. He planned a whole bunch of very important and super nice buildings all over Italy. Inside this building there are some very nice rooms, very big windows, thanks to which there is quite a lot of light coming in from the outside. And also there is her. This is the most photographed staircase in Turin. It has been planned still by Filippo Juvara, so the same of the facade. It's really truly so nice. This building has been used for different things later on, not only as a fortified residence, but also as, for instance, seat of the French government, astronomical observatory, and also as police station, and later on it became a museum. What I'm going to show you now is the inside of the museum, where you can see some very nice paintings and sculptures, decorations, very nice stuff. But what I wanted to show you here is this, okay? This, all these lines here, and you see if I hover as well, mean that you can really see inside of the museum. You can really see the vast majority of the museum, the vast majority of the rooms of the museum. But not only that, you will see in a minute, but you will really be able to see and to find out some additional information on specific paintings, specific sculpture, specific masterpieces that are hosted inside the museum. So really great. So here we are at the Egyptian Museum of Torino. You are not going to believe it, but it is the most ancient Egyptian museum in the world, even older than the Cairo one. It is true. It was founded in the year 1824, and it is also the second most important Egyptian museum in the world, after the one of Cairo, of course. When it was opened in the 19th century all over Europe, it was pretty popular to collect pieces from ancient Egypt. This collection started first with some pieces of the King Carlo Felice and of the family Savoy, and then it became bigger and bigger, and also thanks to some new excavations in Egypt, it also became even bigger. In this museum you can find really so many things, human mummies, animal mummies, even there is the reproduction, there is really temple, this one here is the temple of Elysia, so it's really pretty amazing how you can really feel like you are inside the temple in Egypt. Of course, you can find also plenty of statues of Egyptian kings and also ornaments, funeral ornaments. Yes, so many things. This is just to give you an idea. Vases and papyrus, of course, as well. There are some really quite important pieces for the Egyptian history here. So this is the Mole Antonelliana, which is the symbol of the city of Turin and also one of the symbols of Italy. It has been built in the second half of the 19th century. Originally looked like this, so cropped compared to nowadays. It was an Israelite temple. Nowadays this is how it looks like, so pretty high. In fact, for some years it has been the highest building in the whole world, built completely in bricks. But at some point some parts of reinforced concrete were added, hence it lost its record. The mole is composed by different parts, so we have this base here, then we have this big dome here. This part here is called the tempietto, which you can reach with a lift as well, and then we have this last part here. It is 167 meter high, and this is the lift to reach the tempietto, and from there you can have a really nice view all over Turin. this is an amazing view that you can enjoy from the Mole Antonelliana. The name is composed by two words, Mole, Antonelliana. Mole means very big building, and Antonelliana comes from Alessandro Antonelli, who was the architect of this building. Nowadays, the Mole Antonelliana hosts the National Museum of Cinema. So here we are inside the Mole Antonelliana and inside the Cinema Museum. And it has been opened in the year 1958. It is one of the richest in the world. You can learn more about history of cinema. Also here there is a pretty big good job done for the restoration of all the films. So this one down here, facing the River Po, okay, is the so-called Borgo medievale. It looks like it's actually medieval, with the castle, with the towers, with the defense walls, some little squares, there are some churches as well, some very nice houses. In fact, it is a neo-medieval style. It has been built only in the 19th century for the Italian General Exposition, and the aim was to show different styles of medieval buildings that we can see in the region of Piedmont, which is Torino's region, and Valle d'Aosta, which is situated not too far from here. The interesting thing is that you can really see some of these buildings which really remind actual precise buildings that you can see in these regions. So this is really interesting, and you can see here there is a little garden as well. There are some decorations, coats of arms, all things that you would typically see in an actual medieval little town. Here you could also find some typical artisanal workshop and shops, and nowadays there are actually also a few remaining of these, not many, but there are still a few.